Hey guys, what's going on? Counterspell Hater here, back with another video, another EDH guide, I should say. Today we're taking a look at the final pre-con commander in the pre-con commander series of Innistrad Crimson Vow. It's Strefan, Warrior Progenitor. I think that's how you pronounce Warrior. Let me know in the comment section below. So for two generic black and the red, it's a legendary creature of Vampire Noble, flying for two. At the beginning of your end step, create a blood token for each player who lost life this turn. So this could be you and your opponents. And whenever Strefan attacks, you may sacrifice two blood tokens. If you may put a vampire card from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. It gains indestructible until a turn. So there are some ways you can go with this deck. You can go shapeshifters, definitely, because they are changeling. You can go like other effects that have like cards in your hand or like chosen creature at the side. Like most likely they're going vampires. Just saying those are like some ways you go about it. Now blood tokens, what are they? Well, blood tokens are artifact tokens that say for one, you can tap it and sacrifice it. You discard a card to draw a card. So rummage. So obviously in this deck, we're going to be casting a lot of vampires, losing, having our opponents, like as many people lose as much life as what we can have them lose. So let's get started with the vampires. So first off, we have Bloodlord of Vazgoth for 3 generic and double black. It's a vampire warrior. 3/3 bloodthirst of 3. If an opponent was dealt damage this turn, this creature enters the battlefield with 3+1/+1 counters on it, flying. And whenever you cast a vampire creature spell, it gains bloodthirst 3. So utilizing life loss to make our vampire's buffer that we cast but do not put onto the battlefield via Strefan. Sangromancer. For 2 generic double black, it's a vampire shaman, 3/3 flyer. Whenever a creature and opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may gain 3 life, which you want to. So punishes them for playing aristocrats, sacrifice sort of things. And whenever opponent discards a card, you may also gain 3 life. So punishing for like jumpstart decks, like instant sorcery matters and graveyard matters decks, sort of things like that. So pretty nice, allows us to gain life. Not really punish our opponents, but gain life still. Sanctum Seeker, 2 generic, double black for a Vampire Knight 3/4. Whenever a vampire you control attacks, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So right there, that's like them losing life. So you'll be getting like 3 blood tokens. Champion of Dusk, 3 generic, double black for a Vampire Knight 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and you lose X life for X number of vampires you control. So now, by this time, if your opponents have lost life and now you have lost life, so Strefan will create you 4 tokens thanks to this card, and it will draw you a bunch of cards thanks to Champion of Dusk. Drawing you cards when it is battlefield. The cards being equal to the vampires you control. You get it. Bishop of the Bloodstain, 3 generic, double black, creature vampire cleric. It's a 3/3. And when it's battlefield, target opponent loses 1 life for each vampire you control. So drain someone for a lot. Vampire Socialite, I think. Black and red, so you're going to be casting this more than likely. It's a vampire noble 2/2 with menace, so it can't be blocked except by 2 more creatures. And when it enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, play a +1/+1 counter on each other vampire you control. As long as an opponent lost life this turn, each other vampire you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So more +1/+1 counters, more strength, that. Vuldarian, Vuldarian Scion, I think. One generic black and red, legendary creature, vampire noble. First strike through 3. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, look at the top X cards of your library. X is the total amount of life your opponent's lost this turn, and exile one of those cards and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You may play the exile card this turn, so utilizing that life loss in another way. Knight of the Ebon Legion, once again utilizing life loss, because for black it's a vampire knight 1/2, and then 2 generic and a black. You activate its ability that gives it death, touch, and +3/+3 until end turn. At the beginning of your end step, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, this can be anyone, so it can include you. Then you put a +1/+2 counter on Knight of the Ebon Legion. In case you didn't know, damage causes loss of life. Drana, Liberator of Malakir. 1 generic, double black, legendary creature, vampire ally. Flying, first strike 2/3. Whenever Drana, Liberator of Malakir deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+2 counter on each attacking creature you control. So the way that works is because of first strike, she hits before other creatures with first strike. So if she hits your opponents, then before like everything else hits, they're getting a +1/+2 counter, so they're getting buffed even more. So if you were asking before, like, why would you do that if like she's gonna hit at the same time? Well, she doesn't. Very still nice vampire to cheat out. And then we have the other one, Drana Alistria Blood Chief. 3 generic, double black, legendary creature, vampire shaman. Flying for 4. X and double black. Target creature gets -0, -X until end of turn. And Drana Calistria Blood Chief gets +X +0 until end of turn. So kill a creature and buff up Drana. Next we have Vito, Born of the Dust Rose. 2 generic and black for a legendary creature. Vampire cleric 1/3 that says whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. And then for 3 generic and double black, you can activate his ability that gives all creatures you control lifelink until end of turn. So when they hit, they will gain you life, and then you can have your opponents lose life if they haven't already, or lose even more than what they already have. Possibly even killing them. If you include, I think it's it was one card that's there's an enchantment that said whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life, and it would form an infinite combo. Anyways, moving on to Stormkirk Captain. 1 generic, 1 black, 1 red for a vampire soldier, 2/2 with first strike. Other vampires you control get +1/+1 and have first strike. I know this kind of negates like Drana's whole thing with hitting first, but it's still fine. First strike is pretty nice, especially when your whole board has it. Double strike can be even better though, because then that's double damage. But nonetheless, pretty good. The Acropolis Regent, however, is a great card. Pretty good to cheat out, because it's a hefty cost of 3 generic and triple black. It's a vampire, it's a 6/5 flyer, and whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you put that many +1/+2 counters on it. So pretty good one to cheat out. Just like Bloodline Keeper. 2 generic, double black, creature vampire, flying. It taps to put a 2/2 black vampire creature token flying onto the battlefield. And then for a singular black, you can transform it. But you can only activate that ability if you control 5 or more vampires, which probably you will, so you're playing Vampire Trouble in this deck. Then on the other side, we have Lord of Lineage. It's a vampire 5/5 flyer, and other vampire creatures you control get +2/+2 and then it can tap to put a 2/2 black vampire creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Buff up the vampires pretty much. Shadow Alley Denizen. It's just a singular black for a 1/1 vampire rogue, and whenever another black creature enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gains intimidate until end of turn, meaning it can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and/or creatures that share a color with it. So unless your opponent is playing black, red, or artifact creatures, good luck blocking this. Because now every time a black creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can give a creature you control intimidate, making it even harder to block, and therefore more likely to damage your opponent, causing that opponent to be checked off the bucket list of lose lost life this turn, allowing you to create more blood tokens straight thanks to Strefan, and so on and so forth. Thirsting Bloodlord, 2 generic, double black. It's a vampire 3/3 lord in this case, because other vampires you control get +1/+1. Twilight Prophet, 2 generic, double black, vampire cleric, 2/4 flying, ascend. If you control 10 or more permanents, you get the city's blessing for the rest of the game, which you will most likely due to you having a lot of blood tokens and cheating out vampires. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the city's blessing, you reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. Each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is that card is converted to mana cost. And since if you're running this in your Strefan deck, but you don't want to run like the exact deck that is being presented and instead like have high CMC vampires, go on ahead with this, because then your opponents are definitely gonna lose a lot of life. But nonetheless, probably run it. Because it'll guarantee that you get 3 or more blood tokens. Because Strefan, I'll remind you, Strefan says that he creates a blood token at the beginning of your end step for each player who has lost life this turn. Meaning that if you lose life, that counts, so that can be 4. And Twilight Prophet can get you 3 out of 4. Anyways, moving on to Captivating Vampire, 1 generic, double black for a vampire 2/2. Lord, in this case, once again, because other vampire creatures you control get +1/+1. However, unlike last one, you tap 5 untapped vampires you control and gain control of target creature, and it becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. How sweet is that? Pretty sweet. That's the answer. Next, I believe we've come full circle with all the Dranas, because we have the latest one here, Drana, the Last Blood Chief. 3 generic, double black, under your creature vampire cleric, flying for 4. And whenever she attacks, defending player chooses a non-legendary creature card in your graveyard, and you return that card to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it, and that creature is a vampire in addition to its other types. So now we have in here a vampire reanimator that you can cheat out, which is pretty nice. So definitely keep that in mind. Marauding Blight Priest, 2 generic and a black for a creature vampire cleric. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life through 2. And since we have like a couple of life gain cards or cards that help us gain life, this will be triggering off possibly, and most likely will be. And then our opponents will be losing life, guaranteeing the fact that we get the blood tokens. At least 3. Zagras, Thief of Heartbeat, 4 generic, black and red. It's a legendary creature vampire rogue, 4/4, or he is, I should say. He costs 1 generic less to cast for each creature in your party. So a party would consist of a rogue, a cleric, a wizard, a warrior, and something else. Or was it? I think that was it. Yeah. 4 people. Yeah. So this can cost up to 4 less, I believe. Flying Death Touch Haste. Other creatures you control have Death Touch, and whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a Planeswalker, destroy that Planeswalker. So, because Death Touch actually does not work on Planeswalkers. But now, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a Planeswalker, destroy that Planeswalker, so you can get rid of Planeswalkers now, thanks to Zagros. And other creatures you control at Death Touch. So, nice sort of evasion in a sense, because your opponents are not going to be wanting to block Death Touch, especially if they're low. If those creatures with Death Touch are low in power, or your opponents have like high power flyers or like high power reach creatures or like highly valuable to their plans and are trying to reserve. So this is more likely to get through along with all the other creatures that's getting Death Touch. So pretty nice. Now Cure Blood Witch. 3 generic, double black. Vampire Shaman for 4 flying protection from white, meaning white cannot touch this whatsoever. Period. End of story. And when it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses life equal to the number of vampires you control. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. So drain. Nice. NG, Maid of Dishonor. 2 generic, black and red, legendary creature vampire for 5. When she and or one or more vampires enter the battlefield under your control, create a blood token. About to say 1/1 blood, but no, it's just blood token. This ability only triggers once each turn, however. But for 2 generic, you can sacrifice another creature or a blood token, and each opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. So help you make blood tokens, help you gain life, help you drain opponents. Timothar, Baron of Bats. So this comes with the precon. Just so you know, 4 generic, double black, legendary creature vampire noble, ward, discard card 4/4. So ward is an additional cost your opponents have to pay in order to target this creature with spells or abilities. In this case, it's discarding a card. And whenever another non-token vampire you control dies, you may pay 1 generic and exile it. If you do, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. It gains when this creature deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it and return the exile card to the battlefield tapped. So bringing back your vampires, pretty nice. But if you do lose those tokens, or you lose, actually it doesn't matter if you lose 25, but still, if you lose the token, you lose the vampire forever. That can suck. That must be nice. Nikarna Revenant. 4 generic, double black, vampire shade for 4. And whenever you tap a swamp per minute, add an additional black. So pretty nice. And then for a black, singular black, it gets +1/+1 until in turn. So it can plumb itself up really quick. Crossway Troublemakers. 5 generic and black, creature vampire by 5. Attacking vampires you control at Death Touch and lifelink. So evasion and lifelink pretty good. Not to mention Death Touch is just good in general. Except in the case that your opponent has indestructible stuff, or an archetype of finality, which takes away Death Touch from everything and only allows you to have Death Touch, by the way. But that is besides the point. The point is that whenever a vampire you control dies, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. And since we have this life link, that's going to help out a lot. Next, we have Vuldarian Bloodcaster. Creature vampire wizard, flying 2/1, and when it or another non-token creature you control dies, you create a blood token. I'm sorry. Technically, it's an artifact with 1 generic caps. Discard a card, so you discard before, and then sacrifice, and then draw a card. But still, I said it right the first time for the most part. Technically wrong, but still. And whenever you create a blood token, if you control 5 or more blood tokens, transform Vuldarian Bloodcaster into Bloodbat Summoner. It's a vampire wizard flying 3/3, and at the beginning of combat end your turn, up to one target blood token you control becomes a 2/2 black bat with flying in addition and haste in addition to its other types. Olivia's Wrath, 4 generic in the black for a sorcery. Each non-vampire creature gets -X until in turn, where X is the number of vampires you control. Like I said, we're in vampire trouble, so this still counts. Kindred Dominance, pretty good. Should probably replace one of the cards that comes with the precons, because for 5 generic and double black, it can be cheated out, but it is a sorcery that has you choose a creature type and then you destroy all creatures that aren't of the chosen type. Obviously, you're going to be choosing vampires, and then everything else that isn't a vampire goes away, and you're just most likely free to swing. Unless your opponent happens to be running shapeshifters, which in that case, they're probably going to be a vampire to change them. In which case, you also have Kindred Charge. Because for 4 generic and double red is a sorcery where you choose a creature type once again, except this time for each creature you control of the chosen type, you create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste, and you exile them at the beginning of the next end step. So this could probably end the game in pinch. And then we have Camber Plunderer, 3 generic and a black. It's a legendary creature vampire rogue. Partner with Loreen the Diversion. So when this creature enters the battlefield, I know you can't see it, but still, target player may put Loreen into their hand from their library, then shuffle lifelink 3/4. Whenever a creature dies, you gain 1 life and create a blood token. Nice. Then there's Loreen the Diversion. So now, as we get into Loreen, we're going to gain into like the other half of our commander, really. So like utilizing blood tokens and creating more blood tokens, or doing both in a sense. So we began that with Loreen the Diversion, 2 generic and a red for legendary creature human rogue. Partner with Camber and Plunderer, so same thing, except you go find Camber and put it into your hand from your library, and then shuffle. First strike for 2 generic, you sacrifice an artifact or creature and go target creature. So that goes pretty well with Camber. Until your next turn, that creature attacks each combat if able and attacks a player other than you if able. That's goading in a nutshell. Next, we have Alhamar's Archive. 5 generic for legendary artifact. If you gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. So utilizing that life gain even more, which is what we want to do. If you would draw a card except the first one you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. And these blood tokens can have us draw cards at the price of discarding 1. So now, instead of just drawing 1 card, we're going to draw 2 when we sacrifice a blood token and discard a card. Then there's Change of Fortune for 3 generic and a red. It's a sorcery. Discard your hand, then draw a card for each card you discarded this turn. So once again, utilizing blood tokens because they have us discard cards. Lola's Citadel, 3 generic, triple black, legendary artifact. You may look at the top card of your library any time. They play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, you pay life equal to its mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. So once again, utilizing that life gain that some of our cards allow us to have. And then you can tap it and sacrifice 10 non-land permanents. And then each of us loses 10 life as a result. So utilizing those blood tokens you create once again. Inspiring Sanctuary. Probably should have been something Wizards would have thought of that would help this deck out, but apparently they didn't think about it. Because for 3 generic and it's an artifact with non-artifact spells you cast have improvised. Your artifacts can help cast those spells. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities pays for 1 generic mana. So you can utilize those blood tokens to help cast more of your vampires, get more of your vampire synergies out, and things like that. Next, we have Arcbound Ravanger, excuse me, 2 generic for an artifact creature beast. It's a 0/0 modular 1. So modular is where a creature comes in with like modular with a number of plus counters on it equal to the modular number. So in this case, it's 1. And then when it dies, you may put its counters, not just 1 in this case, but its counters onto another target creature. So for now, it's just 1, but sacrifice an artifact and put a plus counter on Arcbound Ravager. So this can get big pretty quick thanks to you creating a bunch of blood tokens. Keep in mind, then if you sacrifice too many, you won't be able to do much with Strefan, but still can make something really big when it dies, or can just make itself big, or utilize blood tokens you don't need. Hellkite Tyrant. This is a win condition on its own. Because from 4 generic and double red, it's a creature dragon, 6/5 flying trample, and when it deals common damage to a player, you gain control of all artifacts that player controls. At the beginning of your upkeep, you control 20 or more artifacts, you win the game. So as we're creating a lot of blood tokens, things our opponents like losing life due to like certain cards like Chief of the Bloodstain, things like that. Sanctum Seeker. Sanctuary Seeker, I think. I don't know. But use that and you're getting a lot of blood tokens, you can win in no time and gain control of artifacts when this deals common damage to a player. So if your opponents are running artifacts, they're in trouble too. So pretty good. Olivia's Attendance, 4 generic and double red for a menacing vampire, 6/6. When it deals damage in general, create that many blood tokens. There are, well, you already know, 2 generic and a red. Olivia's Attendance deals 1 damage to any target. So what you could do is, this could be a fun idea for standard, or just for this deck in general, is you could have a damage tripler like, or damage modifiers. So like Forbane Thane of Redfell, or Furnace of Rage, which doubles damage to everyone and everything, I believe. Alexa, stop. You can run like red-green fights. You could have like Soul's Fire, I think it is, or you could also have Fire Emancipation, which triples all damage you deal to your opponents and permanents that player your opponents control. If the source dealing damage comes from you, in which case it would be. So fun idea, especially for this deck. Lithoform Engine, 4 generic for legendary artifact, 2 to tap to copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy, so you can copy a blood token's triggered activated ability, which has you sacrifice it even though it's not there, but discard another card. So like draw 2 cards, but I think also discard 2 cards in that case. Then for 3, you can tap it and copy target instant sorcerer spell you control. You may choose new targets with copy. Or for 4 generic, you can tap it, copy target permanent spell you control. Token becomes a copy. What we're most interested is in the 2 tap to copy target activated or triggered ability, because of Strefan is a triggered ability. Triggered ability is used whenever, or at. So actually, at the beginning of your end step, create a blood token for each player who lost life this turn, so you can copy that. Or, because whenever he attacks, so that's also an activated ability, so you can get 2 vampires out. And they're gaining indestructible and tapping and attacking. So all in all, pretty nice. And this can be used for other things, so like copying instants and sorceries, or copying permanent spells. Pretty good. Felden of the third path, 1 generic, double red, legendary creature, human artificer, 2/3 for 2 generic and a red. You can tap it and create a token that's a copy of target creature card in your graveyard, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste, and then you sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So since you're discarding stuff, you can discard creatures.
Alexa, start a 30-minute time. Alexa, start a 30-minute timer.
Sorry,
30 minutes, starting now.
that's my redhead. Anyways, where was I? Oh yes, the tokens. So you can discard like vampires and like scary stuff, so like Hellkite Tyrants, and then use Felden here to create a token that's a copy of target creature in your graveyard, except it's an artifact. So it can also be used by inspiring statuary. So pretty cool. All right. Anyways, next we have Maraud, Fury of Akam. 4 generic, double red, legendary creature, Minotaur Warrior, 6/6. Each creature you control gets +1/+1, excuse me, for each time it has attacked this turn, and then landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. At the beginning of that combat, untap all creatures you control. So this allows you to untap Strefan and get even more vampires out, get more attack triggers, get more damage in, possibly even finish your opponents off. And on that second combat, most likely you're getting only one landfall trigger on your main phase off of Maraud, but that's fine. But on that second combat, everyone that attacked the previous combat, so the first combat, on your turn is going to get +1/+0 for each time it has attacked this turn. It will have attacked once that turn, and it's about to attack a second time. So +1/+1. All in all, pretty nice for this deck. As long as you get multiple vampires and multiple combat stuff, that's what you need. Markov Enforcer, 4 generic, double red, creature vampire soldier, 6/6. When it hits or another vampire enters the battlefield under your control, it fights up to 1 target creature and opponent controls. And whenever a creature dealt damage by Markov Enforcer this turn dies, create a blood token. So nice. Cart Land Ironworks, excuse me. 4 generic for an artifact. Sacrifice an artifact, add 2 colors mana to your mana pool. So this allows you to utilize your blood tokens once again and use them for mana. Last cast heart, 2 generic and a black for an artifact that says whenever one or more vampires you control attack, you create a blood token. And for black, you can tap it, pay 1 life, create a 1/1 white and black vampire creature token with lifelink. And double black, you tap it and sacrifice glass cast heart and 13 blood tokens. And then each opponent loses 13 life and you gain 13 life. Spooky number, spooky damage, and even spookier value. Next, we have Jury, Master of the Review. I have no idea. Black and red for legendary creature, human shaman. 1/1. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on Jury, Master of the Review. I have no idea. And when he dies, he deals damage equal to his power to any target. Because it's a he, I believe. And since you're sacrificing so many blood tokens, this is going to be well worth it. Reprocess is also well worth it. Because for 2 generic, double black, it's a sorcery that says sacrifice any number of artifacts, creatures, and or lands, and then you draw a card for each permanent sacrifice this way. So you can sacrifice those blood tokens without having to pay that 1 pesky mana, and also having to discard that card and then just draw those cards. Pretty nice. And then we have Arterial Alchemy. This came with it, so I was like, why not? And 2 generic and a red. When it is about to create a blood token for each opponent you have. So you have 3 opponents, obviously. For blood tokens, you have one blood token. Get it? Blood tokens you control are equipment in addition to their other types and have equipped creature gets +2/+0 and equip cost of 2. So utilizing blood once again. And finally, for our non-land cards, we end with Bone Mizier. Because for 4 generic and a black, it's I was about to say Zampire, which doesn't even exist. It's not even a creature type. Creature, zombie wizard. 4/4. Whenever you discard a creature card, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Whenever you discard a land card, add 2 black mana. Whenever you discard a non-creature, non-land card, draw a card. So, utilizing once again those blood tokens. So now you can start adding mana and then just start sacrificing a bunch of them, getting a lot of mana by discarding lands, discard creatures, make a zombie army, etc. And if you discard a non-creature, non-land card, you get to draw a card. So if you sacrifice a blood token, discard a card, have it to be a non-creature, non-land card, then you're gonna draw 2 cards, one for the blood token sacrifice and the other for Bone Mizier. So definitely replace a card in this deck with Bone Mizier. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Because this is pretty good for those blood tokens. Myriad Landscape. Whenever it enters battlefield tapped, and it can tap to add colors. 2 generic, you can tap and sacrifice it, and then you search your library for 2 basic land cards that share a land type, put them onto the battlefield tapped, let shuffle. So all in all, good. Helps you ramp. Spine Rock Knoll, land, hideaway. This land enters battlefield tapped, and when it does, you look at the top 4 cards of your library, and you may exile one of them face down, and put the others on the bottom. You can tap to add a red, and for red you can tap it, and you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost, but you can only activate that ability if an opponent has been dealt 7 or more damage this turn. So keep that in mind. Isolated Watchtower, land, it can tap for colors, or for 2 generic, it can tap to scry 1, and then you may reveal the top card of your library. If a basic land card is revealed this way, put it onto the battlefield tapped. Activate this ability only if an opponent controls at least 2 more lands than you. If someone's playing green, they're gonna have more lands than you in a sense, definitely. Not more mana maybe, but probably more. Well, probably more mana. What am I saying? It's green. Still a nice ramp. Volrath Stronghold, legendary land. So the last non-basic land card here. Because you can tap it to add colors, or for 1 generic and a black, you can tap it, put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. So then you can discard a card thanks to the sacrifice of a blood token, draw a card, and make it a creature card. And then you can have Volrath Stronghold, put it back on top of your library. And then you have 23 basic swamps. And then 23 basic mountains. And that is it for Strefan, more Progenitor, and the Vampire Tribal EDH deck. I hope you enjoyed this EDH guide. If you like if you want more of this content, like to subscribe, hit the notification bell that way you don't miss another video. Share this video with others so they can see it too. And I hope to see you again. Please keep up with positive feedback, guys. See you later.